Welcome to ArkDesign.AI. Transform your architecture practice into the AI age. This lecture, presented by Dity, Ayalon, Fariba, Makooi, and Gavri, Slasky, will give you an introduction into the use of AI tools in architecture.
So I'm Dity, the founder of ArkDesign.AI, and ArkDesign.AI is a tool for feasibility of multifamily projects, and we're working in New York City, but somehow it's spread for many other countries. And this talk that you're going to hear was first, I was invited to NCARB over a year ago for the first Future Symposium. Together with Phil Bernstein and John Locke, we spoke about NCARB really wanted to understand what's going on, the transformation of our industry and the insights of people that are actually working in the field. And Fabian can also update you with a new announcement of NCARB about AI, which is that they're not going to regulate anything about it.
Yeah, spoiler alert, it's just a tool. It's just a tool. So that's it.
It's just a tool. Exactly. But I'll take you into my journey. When I started, I was a fellow architect like you guys. And in 2017, I read the McKinsey report, which is a very, very long report that is actually explaining the condition of our industry, which, as I said, it's lagging behind in many, many aspects. And if we see here the productivity in many fields that we're having, you can see that the construction, the orange one, is way, way lagging behind, and there's so much room for improvement. And so according to McKinsey 2017 report, in every aspect of architecture and construction, we can actually make huge transformation to our industry, up to 60% productivity improvement. And of course, we have here regulation, it's the enabler, collaboration, design and engineering. And also we talk about technology, which is only that will increase it by almost 15%. So 2024 new the updated McKinsey report was kind of strange to read again a couple of years after the one from 2017, and why the construction industry must climb out of its productivity rut and why it hasn't yet. So not much progress yet, whereas other industries are really going through major transformations. And we can see here that the AI tools were not still widely adopted by our industry. And if we're looking at the 2024 report, we can still see that the construction is pretty much the same, lagging behind manufacturing and the total economy productivity. And I'll start with my personal story, just to get you in the, I hope it will get you into it, being excited of this transformation. And I started my career in Florence University in Italy. And my dissertation was about Leon Battista Alberti. And Leon Battista Alberti was a Renaissance man and multidisciplinary, an architect, but also an artist, and also a researcher and a scientist. And so one of his research was about le teoria dell'armonia musicale, the theory of the harmonic music. And Alberti was actually analyzing music that is perceived harmonious to our human ear. And he was analyzing plans from the classical era and visuals that were perceived as harmonious to our human eyes. And he was translating into rhythms and into mathematics the music and the visuals, and he compared the two. And when he compared it, he actually saw something that really struck me and made me be very excited, because those mathematics of the music and the visuals were similar. And so if we go a bit forward, you can even see forms and can be mathematics and formulas. And that's Palazzo Uccellai in Florence was actually the manifestation of his theories. So that's about the Renaissance. Now, years later, I was in New York City. I studied art, painting in the National Academy in New York City. And I was painting life models. And one of my teachers, a very well-known painter in New York, realistic painter, kept telling me, squint your eyes. So everyone try to squint your eyes. And when we squint our eyes, start to look at the 3D spaces around us. And the squinting actually help us to see everything in compositions and blurry shapes. And it helps, that's actually the technique that realistic painters are transforming the 3D that is around them into 2D, into a canvas. And so that's a very, very useful technique. And now let's go to our architecture industry. So today, the industry is actually, it's so messy. There are so many different regulatory aspects that we have to take into consideration: the fire safety, the accessibility, the structural, the energy, of course, the regulatory ordinances, like we said before, the zoning, the code, the systems, a building system, the economic factors, the market standards. So many factors, and I don't have to even show you a floor plan of a building. It's a mess. So after reading the report and trying to process all the problems that we have in our industry, together with colleagues, we started to analyze many floor plans of multifamily buildings and started to actually hundreds of floor plans and applying the squinting technique and Alberti's technique to translate the visuals into formulas. And we started to come up with ways that we thought could help us make an order and make our industry or the process more standardized and help architects in the process. And when trying to analyze floor plans and treating them as data, it was impossible because every architecture firm has different layers and different standards, and there's no standardization whatsoever between one company to another. And so we couldn't actually, so I just seen that there's an AI companion here. We couldn't actually use floor plans or existing floor plans from different architects as data, and we had to develop creatively our system, our own way, AI. Like I said before, there are many different ways to plan. And so from Alberti and the squinting technique, that was the beginning of thinking about it, of actually creating our own very unique AI technology. And when we started the process, we thought that architects will be very worried and defensive about their jobs and be afraid, of course, that AI will take their jobs. And surprisingly, when we actually launched our first AI product, architects were looking at what we did and they were like, only that, we have only the initial schematic design of a process. And they were like, what about structure? What about parking? What about details? And so, we didn't see any way of architects being defensive, but actually architects that embraced new technologies, because our profession is that we have to work so many long hours, and it's very, very difficult profession. And so we really need help. And I do hope that technology can do that help. And also taking you back to the beginning of my career in the university, one of my friends, her dad was an architect. And I asked her, I was visiting the family. They were living in Bologna, in Italy, and I was asking her, "What's your mom profession? What does your mom do?" She made great food, but apart from making us this great food, what is her profession? And my friend replied to me, "My mom is the wife of the architect. La mia mamma è la moglie dell'architetto." And I was like, it was 30 years ago, and I was really shocked, and I asked my friend Julia, what is the wife of the architect 30 years ago? Anyone have an idea? Fabian, does someone know in the chat?
I know.
Okay, yeah.
But does anybody know in the chat?
Okay. So 30
Was
years,
it
by
their
the way,
job to do the drawing or copying?
yeah, very good. Good, good. So yes.
Somebody said,
Excuse me? Is that a good joke?
no, just keep going.
Okay. So 30 years ago, we used to actually we didn't have CAD. Just before CAD started, we were drawing everything with pen, with special pens. And she explained to me that the wife of the architect professor, I'm not coming from an architect home, so I didn't know that, was the one who actually in construction plans, use construction plan, we need, for the grass, there are like millions of dots. And for the leaves of the trees, there are like millions of tiny, tiny lines. And so that was the mastery of the wife of the architect. And 3 years after that chat with Julia, the AutoCAD was spreading everywhere. It started like fire. And the wife of the architect profession was very, very different. And I do believe that, exactly like our profession, will be very different 3 years from now, 5 years from now. So I think it's really good idea to start and embrace it and try to adjust to the new reality of our profession. And so the vision of AI is to actually help us and be our assistant to create fast drawings and much better elaborated and up to code and many options, so we can really select the best one for every project. I see someone that is trying to. Okay, so an AI can really help with the health, safety, and welfare of every project. And I think it's very, very important to use it as an assistant. And for us architects, I think there is a great opportunity here with AI tools. So not only we can just step up and be one of the first to adopt it and make our practice much more efficient and better, and make sure that we can have all the tedious tasks done for us by the machine, which leave us time to be more creative and invest more time in the creative task, and B, to be more profitable, because architects margins are so tiny, so that it's something that would be very positive to do. So I think the opportunity here is by either adapting AI tools for your practice and trying many different tools and find the ones that really resonate with you and make your practice better and make you shine with those tools. And B, there's so much need for architects when we develop those tools. So I think that can be also a great opportunity for all of us. And it's not only about time and labor saving, it's also about better space utilizations, because computers are better than us in optimization. Our cities needs to get more dense. We have housing is a basic need, and there is a rapid urbanization, and we need to build 96 new homes every day to house the estimated 3 billion people who will need adequate housing by 2030, which is very soon. And only the United States, we're short of 1.5 million homes. So lots of demand and lots of work ahead of us to provide that. And a lot of things that we actually have to watch out for: hallucinations, unpredictability, and non-explainability. privacy, bias, toxicity, and intellectual property. That's another thing we have to understand. I saw now there's a discussion with the AI companies that actually use data for their machines without asking permission, and so that's a big issue. So challenges and opportunities. So yeah, false outputs. I'm sure anyone asked questions GPT and got some false outputs. So that's things that we have to really watch out for. Also in architecture, professional liability. So NCARB announcement that they're not regulating AI. Bad news for us because the liability is still with us. No machine will take that from us, and I don't think that will happen. Definitely not in the near future. And copyrights issues. Where is the copyright? The machine, the human? That's a very, very long discussion that we still need to make. And so what does all this mean for us, for architects? In one word, we must become AI literate. So, for example, navigating complex building code regulations, we can see that the means of egress, the staircases, figuring out distances, figuring out dead-end corridors, maximum distances between means of egress, all that we can give the machine to do for us. Staircases. I don't have to tell you, I'm sure all of you struggle with staircases, design, and formulas. Machines can actually do it for us. Clearances. You know, we all have the ADA clearances when we design a floor plan. And so this is also all about formulas and distances and dimensions. And machines could help us with that. Zoning. That this is the R6 from New York City, but I'm sure all of you have met zoning ordinances and about you have the heights, the setback, the lot coverage, all of those requirements. It's all numbers, and we can all have help by machines with doing that. So let me show you some use cases of how does it work. The HSW, how we can actually enhance architecture design through AI. When we prioritize health, safety, and welfare, and we have to work with regulatory requirements. So for example, rear yard or rear yard equivalent in this case, a machine can help us define where we can do that. Lot coverage, where the street wall would be. It can offer us, like we said, we spoke about egress, means of egress before. It can offer us where the core, vertical cores could be placed. It can place rooms, legal light and air, only along the window walls where it's legal to have light and air for our floor plan design. And so, for example, I'll give you an example of our system. There are 3 mandatory conditions for the AI to actually generate the floor plans of the dwelling units. So the area must be connected to window wall. If we're planning a large or actually a floor plan, the typical floor of a multi-family buildings, all the units must have legal light and air. And if we're not setting those conditions when we're asking the AI to generate the layout of the dwelling units, it will not work. The dwelling units areas must be connected to a corridor, proper corridor, means of egress. So everything has to comply. We cannot have units designed where there's no proper access to corridor, to egress, and to clearances that we spoke before. And the public vertical cores, stairs, elevator, the trash rooms must be connected properly to the proper walls and not in the middle of the layout or the middle of the dwelling unit. So those, for example, are the 3 mandatory conditions. And if we speak about, for example, this is building in Bedford Avenue, and it's a 320 units building. And just briefly, I'll show you, this was the floor plan of the mixed-use floor, and that's mixed-use and residential floor and second floor. But just to see, the area must be connected to a window wall. And so, I have this. So the area must be connected to a window wall. All planned dwelling units should be designed according to legal light and air regulations. So if this is our floor plans, but you didn't define to the system that you have window walls and all the walls are black walls, which means it's brick walls. It's not having legal light and air windows, then the system will not generate the floor plan. So you must change it to the light walls, to the window walls, and only after that the AI will actually generate the floor plan, like we see here on the right side of the floor plan. Or this is a project in Broadway, New Jersey, of 136 units. If we'll have time later, I'll show you, because one of the feedback I got from last time, that an architect told me that they wanted to see a project that is getting built from zero to complete building. So I'll show you later if we will have enough time, but that's the building, the use case building. But for example, those are the mixed use floors, but the dwelling units area must be connected to a corridor, lobby, or egress to comply with egress regulations. So not only light and air, but also we want to have a proper corridor that will serve the all units. So if you ask the AI to generate the floor plans of the dwelling units on the left floor plan, it will just not work. It will refuse to work. After carving the corridor and laying it out all through the layout of the floor plan, then it will actually work and automatically create these the layouts of the dwelling units. Use case 3, again, you cannot have that. That's another building that's a large building on the commercial floor. This is the residential floor. And we have the shafts and the vertical cores. So the vertical cores, the stairs, the elevators, the trash rooms, they have to properly be connected to the public corridors. Otherwise, again, the system will not do the layout. So here, the stairs on the left scheme, you can see that the stairs is not connected to properly connected to the corridor. And only after we connected it to the corridor on the right scheme, then it's actually did the layout, automatic layout of all the dwelling units. So I will finish this portion of my talk with the fact that we're optimistic, and it's the sentence that they say about doctor, but it's very, very true for us architects too. That AI will not replace architects, but architects who use AI will replace those who don't. Exactly as the same as we said about the wife of the architect. So I really, really hope that in this talk we will give you a bit of a will to start and adapt to that. And with that, I'm going to pass to Fariba Makooi to lead the presentation. So Fariba is the principal of Fischer Makooi Architects, and she designed and managed millions of square foot of construction every year. And she's the winner of the Sarah National AI Award, one of the first winners. And Fariba, you can start. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dity. Hi, I'm Fariba Makooi, and I just wanted to start by saying that, Dity just mentioned, is AI going to replace us? I just wanted to say that I think René Descartes answered that question many, many years ago in the 16th or 17th century, saying that, we are different than machines because we doubt, therefore we are. I am, I doubt, therefore I am. And I just wanted to say that obviously AI has been growing very fast, and it really helps us get things done much quicker than we used to do. So it's just a tool, and this tool is very helpful. One of the things that, for example, you see here, we had to do quick studies of one build, one site, showing what happens if they get air rights, what happens if they get another site next to them. And we did 3 schemes for them in a very, in a day rather than in weeks of trying to figure out all this. So we can go to the next slide, and I will show you that, the sections already, as soon as we tell the computer that, we have certain number of floors, these are the setbacks, the sections are generated with the heights and everything, so we can check for zoning and make sure that the zoning works with the heights and everything. So, and then the next slide will show that we have, different floor plates, right? In scheme 1 and 2, the cellar and the ground floor was very similar. And then in scheme 3, they decided to do a full cellar rather than partial cellar. So this was giving them, the areas they could examine and see, what actually works for them best. And then we went to the plans. Next slide, please. Here we were exploring actually how many units they're going to have, what the mix is going to be. And again, as you can see, scheme 1 and 2 was very similar, but different mix that we had. But in scheme 3, because they were getting more air rights, the floor plate actually got bigger. So we could just make these changes very quickly. And the client could decide, if it's worth it for them to get the air rights from next door site, or just buy the next door site and build on it. So these were some of the studies. So next slide, please. So these are upper floors, and the stair had to transfer, and how the stair transfers is shown, in these diagrams. And these are all generated, again, with the AI helping. The mix, you can see, the red is studios, and the blue is the 1-bedrooms, and the pink is 2-bedroom apartments. And it's interesting that the AI could figure this out, that the corner will work better for the 2-bedroom rather than, me telling the computer what to do. It automatically put the 2-bedroom on the corner. But on the other hand, it's not always perfect. We have to look at it, critique it, and actually, move things around as we see fit. So next project, I think, is the next slide. Yeah, so here we had a project where the street was angled. So in order for us to get maximum number of light and air for each apartment, we could easily do this accordion type facade to see how we can actually fit, how many apartments we can fit on the floor plate. So next slide will probably show, how the actual accordion shape facade works with the apartments, and how we can get more light and air into each unit, because the angled one wasn't working with, the angled windows are, or the facade is more expensive and more, troublesome. So this way we could actually make them more angular, and each room had a corner window rather than a straight window. The next slide, please. So this is just, showing all the different variations of the units that we have. This is the setback floor and how it worked with the units and how it changed. Some of the units stayed the same and some of them were changing. This would take us probably, a few days to do, and with the help of AI, we could do it in a couple of hours, which is really helpful. As we are always rushing to get things done last minute, so this is really helpful. Next slide, please. So this is a project that the owner. If we go to the floor plan, actually, next slide, I will show people how the corners actually worked for us, because in the beginning we were going with the straight wall, and the facade was not enough for all the units to have windows. So by doing these little jogs into the building, we were able to fit, let's say, a one-bedroom apartment without having to take so much of the facade. So we kind of made this jog, and every room has light and air, and yet, they were able to get more one-bedroom apartments. So otherwise, we were coming up with the studio apartments because the facade was not big enough for that many rooms. But the AI can figure out where the windows are going to go, so it can give us, that option again very quickly. So the next slide, please. So this one, 4th Avenue, they wanted to know how many more units can they fit, what the mix is going to be, and how all these calculations are going to work. So we did 2 schemes for them, with different unit mix, and came up with different, number of units, and they could decide. So next slide, please. Again, the section is automatically done. We don't have to spend the time to do the section, which is, obviously very schematic sections, but, it kind of helps the client to visualize everything. Next slide, please. Yeah, here's where we kept some of the units the same. And then if you go to the next slide, you will see that the upper floors were different. And this is how we came up with, more 2 bedrooms on the upper floor versus more 1 bedrooms on the lower floor, on the upper floors, and how we kind of got different options, where to put the studios, where to put the 1 bedrooms. And some of these also are very helpful, because if we do affordable housing, there are certain requirements for the square footage of each unit. So this way, we can figure out where each one will go. Like on the upper floors, we wanted to have some affordable units, but we had to make sure that the square footages work with the way, the shape of the building is, and, how it works. So, for example, the one on the right, we have 2 studios next to each other. That is not going to work for affordable. They want us to scatter them around. They don't want it to be in one corner, in one line, and, so this way we got a few options to work with. Next slide, please. This is just showing, how different configurations came about. On the left side, it's all just 1 bedroom units, and on the right side, it's all 2 bedroom units. We have 2 bedroom versus 3 1 bedroom units. Next slide, please. The calculations, things that we have to do, but actually we don't want to do, because it takes so long, and we have to sit there and calculate each unit and come up with the Excel sheet, go to the Excel sheet and kind of figure out, put all these numbers in and check ourselves and make sure that everything works. Here's where we get the zoning floor area, gross floor area, some of the deductions, and we can get these automatically as we go and do some of the layouts already. So next slide, please. And then, how the unit distribution is, where the studios are, where the one bedrooms are, how many one bedroom, how many two bedrooms I have, what the percentages is. These are all the requirements that the developer has to analyze and see if the project is viable for them. And this is, how we can do it, as I said, instead of days to try and figure out all the square footage and put it in a Excel sheet and then, come back and say, oh, this doesn't work because they wanted more studios or less studios or whatever. But this way, we just get it so much quicker. Next slide, please. Okay, so this one is where we ran into some problems, I believe. This project we were doing on Concord. And this is where I say that we have to, because we can, the difference between humans and machines is where we can critique ourselves. And so if you go to the next slide, you will see that the AI program that we were using could not figure out that I can put the elevators right next to the stairs and I don't need a corridor around it. And it just kept putting a corridor in front of the stair and then another corridor in front of the elevator and separated them. And I kept wanting to put them together and it would just wouldn't work. So I called Dity and I was like, this doesn't work for me. I need to have them, because this is an L-shaped building. So therefore the core has to be in the middle where we don't have windows. We have to put the core in there and it was taking too much space and my efficiency was going down. That's another thing I wanted to show you in the previous slide, but we can move forward. But the efficiency of the layouts that we have is so important. If I'm not at least 80% efficient, the developer is going to complain and say you have to be more efficient. So if we go to the next slide, I know we're running out of time, so I'm going to go quickly. So this one was, we had two towers on one side. And the two towers were pretty much identical. So we wanted to do one and just copy it, but there were limitations. So again, I had to call the programmers and say, that's what I need. So now they have a different way of doing this for us. Next slide, please. I think this is just, here also we were trying to figure out, where the best place is for the core. We tried two separate stairs, and as you may know, in New York City, some of you may know, in New York City, we can actually put the stairs back to back and make a scissor stair. But I was, trying to see which one works best for this floor plate that we had. And then the next slide, I believe it shows. Okay, this is just, the unit mix. And then next one, I think should show, no, next one. This is just the setback of it. This is the one that we just did. Another version of the same site with a scissor stair. If we go to the next slide, we will see that this is where we did the scissor stair. And, we're trying to see what works best for the efficiency of the project. I think that would be the last project, I believe. Yeah, so these are, layouts to see what works best. And again, we could get the unit mix with the scissor stair versus two separate stairs, and the developer could see, what works the best. I think the next slide is probably the upper floors, and that should be it. And I wanted to say in the end, just quickly, that, the cops in New York City still use horses sometimes to go where they are going faster because the traffic is so bad. So machines, in my opinion, all the AI programs that we use, we have to tailor them for what we need and really use different tools for different goals that we have. And if the cops in New York City think that, the horses go faster. They use the horses, and sometimes they use the cars because it could go faster. So it depends on what we're doing, where we can use what program. So this is really all up to us to make decisions. So I don't see the computers taking our jobs yet, maybe in the future, but not yet. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fariba. It was so interesting. And now Gavri. Gavri is from SPJ Group and the winner, like Fariba, the winner of the Sarah AI National, and he will share his project. So thank you, Gavri. Thank you, Fariba, and thank you, Gavri.
All right. Thank you, Dity and ArkDesign. Thank you, Fabienne and Sarah, for all that you've been doing. Congratulations again to Fariba, and it's always great to see your work. So I am an associate at SPJ Group. I've been working there for 12 years now, the majority of my career. SPJ Group has been around for 58 years practicing in New York and the surrounding area. We specialize in multifamily and hospitality projects, but have designed many other typologies. But with over half a century of buildings, our work is part of the fabric of the city. So AI projects. AI is everywhere. It's permeated into every field to one degree or another, and upturned many long-standing practices. I was first introduced to ArkDesign and its AI platform on a webinar similar to this one, just under a year ago, where Dity walked us through how to simplify and quickly develop a massing, a unit mix, area tables, just like we've seen so far. I gravitated to this as it encapsulates so many aspects of the zoning analyses that we do so often for clients. More about this later. But here, what we see on the screen, this is a project called the 100. In the fall of last year, our AI project was fortunate to be selected as one of the winners of the National Sarah AI Design Award, the first of its kind. So thank you, Sarah and Dity. So the 100, this is a theoretical project for a tower on a standard 100 by 100 New York City corner lot. One can imagine this on one of many intersections. Sarah's AI Design Award category was quite general and open. There weren't any givens, no site, no program, scale. So my first thought was to ground it in a sense of specificity while at the same time keeping it theoretical. The ArkDesign software seems to lend itself to a rectilinear building and a rectilinear grid, which was great for New York and the work that we do. And the first thing you need to choose is the site. So you choose your lot, corner lot, interior lot. And I thought, let's situate this on a corner lot as defined by New York City zoning, 100 feet from an intersecting street, a pure 100 by 100 corner lot. And then from there, the software gives you possible typical layouts and multiple different core locations and circulation layouts, or you can choose your own. Keeping with the familiar, I chose to design a mixed-use multi-family residential building with retail at the street level. The building maintains the street wall at the building's base and then tapers back at the corner from each street, letting in light and air to the streets below, in the spirit of the original 1916 New York City zoning ordinance. After that, I left the restrictions of height and FAR and possibly reality behind, and chose to continue with the theme of 100 and designed a 100-story building. And so as you design an ARC, you develop the floor plates, the massing. This is the cellars, And this is the ground floor. You make a residential lobby, retail lobby, and it's quite quick. Within a short time working with Ark, I designed 10 unique floor plates. And within minutes, these plans were adjusted as decisions were made on the core and setbacks. Just flipping through the plans here, there's a lot of setbacks, a lot of different layouts, but you don't have to work too hard. The software does it for you, which is wonderful. And as you can see, these plans are not actual layouts. They're just placeholders, a way to make a quick assessment, and a tool toward a more deliberate design, one eventually done by a human. So I like to think of Ark as painting with broad strokes, not the fine lines of architecture. So it actually helps free up the designer to quickly develop the big picture. And then it develops the area schedules. This is all what you've seen already in these presentations. But here I've cut out floors 4 through 96 to fit onto this page. But there's a lot of data that it automatically creates and automatically updates. Same with the zoning deductions. You select and determine how much of a zoning deduction you want to take, and it automatically calculates that for you. I actually like Excel quite a lot. I'll probably miss it, but this is doing us a favor, saving us a lot of time. So I'll just quickly go through a couple examples of some zoning analyses that we did. This is Astor Senior Housing, a modest 7-story building proposed for senior housing in the Bronx. It's a typology we know very well. It follows what used to be called quality housing zoning, and would likely be built out of block and plank. So this is all stuff we're very used to. And it's similar to what we saw with Fariba's project. The site has an angled street. And my initial response would be to angle the facade, to follow the street line, keep things simple, less corners, less expensive to build. But for better or worse, ArkDesign does not yet have a capability to create a diagonal building line. So we stepped the plan and at a finer scale on the ground floor community facility space, and at a scale of a room at the residential floors. And we actually like this result much better. And this is a great example of how sometimes constraints can lead to better design. The senior building has roughly 50-50 mix between studios and one bedroom, slightly more studios. We intentionally lined up the studios at the front facade of the building, keeping a very even rhythm along the main street. And then at the back of the building where the facade is stepped, it actually worked out very nicely because this is a smaller, narrow residential street where you have a series of row houses, and so that the scale is more similar to this sort of broken up mass. Area mixes, it calculates the efficiency for you, which is nice. A lot of developers like to see that. And this is another quick study that we did for a building up in Harlem. Kind of similar partie of a sort of T-shaped plan, but this building, the client came to us. They have an existing community facility building on the site that they needed to replace, but they need to keep it in operation during the whole construction process. So that was the constraints. And so this ended up being a slightly larger building, 10 stories, about over 200,000 square feet, so double the size of the previous one we saw. The existing community facility building, you don't see it here because this is the final result, but it was in this location here, taking up from the street through the green area here. And so what we decided to do was to build the double height gym space in the back behind that building, demolish the existing building, and then build the residential building at in front and on top of the community facility building. And this is a mixed market rate and affordable, so we're able to use the zoning benefits of affordable in the most recent zoning. So this is just flip through some of the floor plates, the cellar, first floor. You can see the amount of community facility space granted there with a nice outdoor space, and same little outdoor space here for the residential, and have residential amenities there. Second floor, this is the double height gym, community facility space overlooking the gym and having terraces out to the outdoor space, and then residential building above. So one of the changes in City of Yes zoning was the 20-foot rear yard for setbacks, 20-foot rear yard setback for portions of buildings that are under 75 feet. So the typical floor is set 20 feet from the rear property line. And the 8th floor here, which would have been a typical floor, we'd have to set that back an additional 10 feet because this is now above 75 feet. And then here we are at the upper floor. This is a setback floor where we set back at the front and have the allowable dormers. And looking at this this morning as I was running through this presentation, I noticed that our corridors are pretty long, and we probably need to add a stair at the end and switch the scissor stair for 2 single stairs. But these are all adjustments that we can do within a few minutes. It's not a long process. So this is, I think, the beauty of Arc is how it's able to combine modeling, plans, tables of initial massing into one coordinated package. It gives an overall picture of a project in a fraction of the time, allowing us to explore many more options and provide a super quick turnaround. This analysis for this project that I just presented here was done in a few hours earlier this week. Was sent back to the client for review, who was amazed at the speed and the thoroughness of this initial step. And hopefully this would generate the excitement and momentum to become a realized project. So in conclusion, I've been hearing this a lot in today's talk, and I feel like everybody's on the same page, which is nice. While sometimes AI manifests itself as this autonomous creator that just develops things by itself. That's not the scenario here. ArkAI is a tool for architects. It's one more tool in the process. It's better at some things, it's incomplete at others, and it should be used together with all other traditional methods and always be viewed and read with a critical eye. So I am very excited to see what comes next for ArkDesign and AI, and how it will shape our industry. So thank you very much, Dity, and I'll turn it back to you.